This is Jeanette with Women Wearing Wigs and More. And today I just want to come and talk to you for just a few minutes. I have on a new wig, and I've actually had it a while, and I put it on and I knew I was going to like it, but I just haven't actually worn it. Today I had to go out, and so I chose this one. And I am really surprised. This is Paula Young. It's an average size wig, and it's called Evan. And the number is 5160A. Now, I don't know if that's all part of the thing on, I'll put a link on their website though. I have ordered from them before, but I was getting wigs that kind of had flippies in the back, but I look like a chicken tail. But anyway, have I got lipstick on my teeth? But anyway, let me turn around so you can see. That's my right side, the back. And my left side. So anyway, it does not have a lace front or a mono part. Excuse me. But I do love the color. It really is much prettier than what's being captured on the camera. But it's kind of an asymmetrical, and you know, it's kind of comes down like that. But I'm really surprised. I would say this is comparable to Raquel Welch Ice Granada. So anyway, it does not give a name. And I mean a name, Evan, yes, but as far as the color, they just have numbers. But anyway, so I don't have any stories to tell you today. One thing, talking about stories, though, I will tell you. In fact, let me go get that book. You're going to see me. I'm not really prepared for this, but we'll see. Speaking of stories, here, let's see. I've kind of lost track of time. I don't know. Anyway, let me get right to it. Mother's Day, I think it was a year ago, Mother's Day. My granddaughter and grandson gave me a subscription to, it's called Storyworth. I wasn't planning on talking about this, so can you tell? But anyway, it was called Storyworth. And each week I would receive a question, and I had to answer it and just type it and submit it. And so you got 52 questions. And I got through 26 weeks, and then I kind of burned out. But I have a friend that has come over, and I tell her all my stories, and, you know, one thing leads to another, and you get me started, and I don't know where to quit. But anyway, so she once said, well, you need to write a book. Well, I did, because at the end of that year of that subscription to Storyworth, and this is a good idea for gift giving or whatever, to anyone. Then once it was through, then you could select your cover, the color of the cover, the picture, the stories, even with that you talked about, you could submit photos. So they're all included in the book as well. So I ordered it and I got it, and it's been a while. But it's called A Collection of My Life Stories, written by Jeanette Carroll. And that picture is worth $1 million to me. I have the original photograph, and that is my grandmother. And I had 3 siblings and myself, 1 sister and 2 brothers. And we all called her Gang. And you may wonder, well, that's a strange name. My oldest brother was 10 years older than I. And so when I came along, her name was well established. But the story goes that Mother said my brother could not say Grandma, and he would say Gang Gang Mom. And then it got shortened to just Gang. So like I say, when I came along, that did not seem unusual. And my grandfather was called Papu. They were both from Louisiana, and I believe Papu is kind of French for grandfather. And I think that's in Greek also. But, and maybe I'm not pronouncing it right, but that's what we called it. But anyway, so my grandmother was known for baking bread. We lived on a rice farm, and when we had cows, sheep, horses, turkeys, chickens, pigs, anyway, you name it. But my grandmother was known for her homemade bread. And her kitchen was red. So the color of the book had to be red. Gang was my rock. I really don't know how. She is who I tried to emulate as I got older. I could never live up to it. But that is a wood stove that is behind her. And it was enameled, so I understand that that was kind of unusual. I do not know what year this photo was taken. I don't think I remember her having the wood stove. It just may be a figment of my imagination because of seeing this picture. But I do know her countertops were red, and those blinds that are in the picture, I don't know if you can see, they were the old-fashioned wooden blinds with the tape that you could change out and get different colors. And needless to say, her blinds were white with a red ribbon pull. Red was her favorite color. And she had a sun porch. And I wish I had taken a picture of that, but she had wallpaper that the bottom half of it was particle board, but it simulated tile, and it was like a mint green, kind of the color of my sofa back here, and maybe a little more green. But anyway, the wallpaper had a white background, and it had huge red birds. I mean, standing, I don't know if you can get a measurement. Yeah, I'd say about the length of my face. And they were just scattered all over this wallpaper. Just beautiful. And anyway, I can remember, I hope I haven't already told this story. Maybe I have. I don't know. I've told so many people, I don't know who I've told not. But I'm going to repeat it. So, but anyway, every year when we would go back to school, the teachers would always ask, well, did you go on a vacation, and where did you go, and what did you do? Well, everyone would say, oh, I went to see my grandmother in such and such place and everything. Well, my grandmother lived next door. Now, not right next door, but there was a rice field in between, but it was within walking distance. So one summer, I told my mother, I said, Mother, I want to go spend 2 weeks with my grandmother. And she said, well, we'll ask Gang. I'm sure Mother was glad to get me out of her hair. But anyway, so of course my grandmother said yes. And so I stayed, spent the night. Oh, I mean, It was just wonderful. And she had a little night light. It was a kind that had two light. It was no bigger, taller than this. That's hard to do on here. And about, I'd say, 8 or 9 inches wide. And it had two light bulbs, and it had a globe over it. And you pressed down on one side, and the light bulb would come on. And you press the other side, and the other light would come on. And then you pressed it again, and then both lights were on, or somehow or another. But anyway, one night I was there, and she got that little night light and turned on all the overhead lights. And it cast a shadow on the bedroom wall in her bedroom. And she would make shadows with her hands. I can't do it, but, it was kind of like something like that, and she'd say, look at it talking, but she had birds, Those are just memories you can't replace. And so then one day, she had this closet in her sun porch. It was like a corner closet. And down at the bottom was this metal green box. And I think that's where she kept all of her important papers. But anyway, above it, sitting on top, was a little hot plate. Now, this was in the I started school in 1947, I think. Gosh. But anyway, and so it must have been the early 50s or right around the 1950s. Anyway, she had a hot plate, and it was only one burner. It was electric. And so she got that out, and she wouldn't let me plug it in. But she said, here, you can play like this is your stove. Well, she was from Louisiana. She was born in Abbeville, Louisiana, Cajun French. Her last name was LaCour before she married. But anyway, she had a little, what is known in the French community, you have your gumbo, and you have a special rice pot. And it was real small because gumbo, you don't want to put too much rice or else it'll swell up and your gumbo won't be liquidy like it's supposed to be. But anyway, so she gave me that little pot, and then she gave me some water to put in it, and then she got out her Alka-Seltzer. Remember the Alka-Seltzers that was in the tall bottle, about that big around? We used to make, I saved one time, and for some reason I got rid of it, but we used to, here I go getting off on another tangent, but talking about making donuts from canned biscuits. So we would use that Alka-Seltzer bottle to cut the hole for the donuts. And if you haven't done that, you just drop those rings and the little donut holes in a hot grease, let them brown real well, making sure they're done on the inside, and then making a powdered sugar glaze. And I'm telling you, when the kids were little, that was a late night snack that we all enjoyed. But anyway, so nevertheless, she gave me Alka-Seltzer, and I could put that in the water in the pot, and it would bubble up. So that was when it boiled. She was very creative. She just knew how to do so many things. But anyway, so that's kind of the story of this. And so it's not too big, but the thing that's kind of nice, it gives you the questions and then the page that you can go to. Let's see if I have a little short one that I could read real quick. The first question was, how did you feel when your first child was born? Well, let's see how long this is. Let's see. So, yeah, it's just two little pages. So, how did you feel when your first child was born? I was both excited but a little afraid. When my first child, Teresa Ann, and I named her last name, was born, my husband, Mel, and I gave his full name, was in the Army stationed in Fort Huachuca, Arizona. All of our families lived in Texas, so it was just the two of us living so far from home. The Army base was built prior to World War II, so all of the buildings, including the hospital, were very old. The walls of the hospital had been painted so many times that you could smell the paint. However, they were immaculately clean, as you can well imagine. Teresa was born on December 24th, 1963, also her father's birthday. How exciting was that? One of the reasons I was a little afraid was the hospital had a rule that once the mother was checked in to have the baby, the husband had to leave and go home. So Mel couldn't even be with me for the birth. I remember after Teresa was born and the nurses rolled me back to my room, they stopped at the nurses' station and handed me the phone. That puzzled me. They said, "We are calling your husband so you can tell him if the baby was a boy or a girl." So when Mel answered, I was the one to let him know that we had a healthy baby girl. After her birth and until I was discharged from the hospital, Mel was able to come visit me and the baby. But listen to this, had to wear a mask and could only come during a designated visiting time. The real fear came after the baby was 24 hours old. Regardless of the hour, the nurse brought your baby to your room and the mother had to immediately take care of the baby. For instance, feed it, take its temperature, change its diaper, etc. Being only 21 years old when Teresa was born, I had no idea how to do all this. I was alone in the room with no instructions. So I got initiated right away. When it was time to take her temperature was the most difficult moment. Fortunately, a male orderly stopped by my room and he showed me how to do it. After that, I was okay. In 1962, the rule of all hospitals where you stayed in the hospital for 4 days with your first child and 3 days for any future babies you might have. But one thing for sure, when I got to go home, the Army nurses had me well prepared. I could have talked a lot more, but I don't know when I was writing it. But here's the pictures. And there, let's see, there's my little baby girl in the hospital. That was in the days when they put them on their tummies. They don't do that anymore. And down at the bottom is her dad holding her. That was in our bedroom. We lived on post and had government housing. So that was quite a privilege. So anyway, it's a neat book. And you know, for what it's worth, I do have stories in there. I think if I could go back and do it, I would have approached it so differently. But, you know, that's how you learn. And so at least I have something for someone to read later down the line. So anyway, I'm going to let y'all go. And I hope that y'all are having a wonderful day. Stay cool if you're in the South. And if you're up north, enjoy the weather. But anyway, I'll just say goodbye. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. And remember, I love you. Bye-bye.